Sorry. Like, yo, Champions League. Like, how many goals were scored in the Champions League quarterfinals already? The first leg of the Champions League quarterfinals this season? Okay, so it's 4 plus 6 equals 10, and then 10 plus 5 is 15, and then 15 plus 3 is 18. So 18 goals were scored in the space of 4 games, across all the 4 games. Literally, first leg, quarterfinals of the UEFA Champions League 2023-2024, 18 goals were scored, literally, in a span of like 4 games, all across. First leg. Wow. Records are just being broken. Like, literally, records are just being broken. I mean, that just shows how records are just being broken. Look, that's what we expect to see. And I think that is like the first time since the 2010-2011 season where we've seen something like this, of this kind of magnitude. So, wow, I mean, we are not disappointed one bit. You know, we are not disappointed. Okay, let's start with the Emirates. Let's start at the Emirates. Let us go to the Emirates, okay? Where Arsenal played against Bayern Munich, you know, and it resulted in a 2-2 draw. And yes, you know, the honors are even, you know, heading to Munich after a thrilling first leg. And what I can just say is that, you know, no one has an advantage, but I would say advantage Bayern, because beating Bayern Munich at home, at their home stadium, Arsenal, hey, it's going to require a lot from you guys, man. It's really going to require a lot from y'all. But hey, we'll see. This is Champions League. Anything can happen. No one is out yet. You know, you can't write off anybody in Champions League. So Arsenal were making their first quarterfinal appearance, you know, in the UEFA Champions League after so many years. After so many years of missing out. After so many years. Guess what? So look, Leandro Trossard, you know, he scored the second half goal, which did secure the 2-2 draw for Arsenal against Bayern Munich in that thrilling first leg, you know, of the UEFA Champions League quarterfinal tie at the Emirates. So, look, Bayern Munich and Arsenal, they will start their second leg of the UEFA Champions League quarterfinal tie, you know, on level terms. You know, it was an enthralling 2-2 draw in North London. What was even crazy is the fact that, look, man, so much unexpected things happened in this particular encounter, and so much more happened in terms of, you know, like Arsenal fans would not be happy about the players that got the goals for Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich do have a lot of, you know, players that have played in the Premier League before, you know, and have had a massive record against Arsenal, right? So look, let's look at the game, how things went in the game, right? So it was Gabriel Martinelli, you know, Arsenal were on the front foot at first, right? So Gabriel Martinelli, you know, he had an early shot, you know, which may have perhaps like served some warning signs that, you know, Arsenal were very intentional in the opening exchanges of the game. But there was very little that, you know, Bayern could do when Saka actually, you know, opened the scoring, you know, after 12 minutes. And it was actually him who actually started the attack alongside Ben White. You know, what a wonderfully weighted pass from the England right back. You know, it was a cute pass inside to actually run beyond him. And he turned and curled in a delightful first-time finish. What a brilliant goal that was from Bukayo Saka. And then White nearly doubled the host lead, you know, only to be thwarted by Manuel Neuer. And 2 minutes later, Bayern Munich were level. Guess what? An Arsenal boy, the former Arsenal boy, Serge Gnabry, on target. So Leon Goretzka, you know, he provided the perfectly weighted through pass. And the former Arsenal winger Serge Gnabry on the slide supplied the finish through, you know, David Raya's legs, right? And Gnabry did celebrate his equalizer for Bayern Munich against his former club Arsenal at the Emirates. And you look at the fact that, you know, the visitors completed their turnaround just like after the half hour. Harry Kane sending Raya the wrong way with the penalty. The England captain, you know, may have done the deed from the spot, but Leroy Sané's scintillating run, which led to the kick being awarded, warrants the credit all of its own. I mean, Sané, remember what Sané did do to Arsenal during his time at City? You do remember? He used to torment Arsenal. You know, I'm sure Arsenal fans don't want to relive those moments. They don't. And look, man, Thomas Tuchel's side, you know, they look to actually have the Gunners at arm's length, you know, for much of the second half, you know. But it was only up until, the Belgian substitute, Leandro Trossard, once again showed his predatory instincts after coming on, side-footing his first-time finish into the bottom corner. And, guess what? Kudos goes to Gabriel Jesus for setting him up on the occasion. And look, I mean, Gabriel Jesus, has been an incredible asset for the Gunners this season. As, they continue their quest to actually clinch the Premier League title for the first time in 2 decades. And then we saw the Frenchman, Kingsley Coman, almost restored Bayern Munich's advantage in the first minute of added time. But look, his instinctive jab, at the cross, from the left, came off the woodwork. And look, now it's basically the games are very even. And when I look at, Arsenal's performance, I look at Martin Odegaard. Martin Odegaard, was very influential during the game. Without a doubt, he created a lot, of problems for that Bayern Munich defense, alongside Saka as well as Ben White on the side. And he showed so much good tempo with the ball, and he also helped the team, in terms of their pressing, right? And it is a measure of Arsenal's progress, under coach Mikel Arteta, that at halftime they were pretty able to identify and fix the defensive issues, the defensive frailties that they had in the opening period of the game. And the result was arguably a team that played with more restraint in the second half. But, they patiently worked themselves back in the game, and, they got their reward with the equalizer. And if they are able to show this, the same sort of maturity and presence of mind in 8 days' time when they return to the Allianz Arena, they have every chance of making it to the semi-finals. But it's not going to be easy. But Arsenal are going to have to play this kind of football that they did play tonight, right, against Bayern Munich, at the Emirates Stadium. And look, for what I can say, Bayern Munich, they did, produce an impressive display, And Harry Kane, he further, he embellished one of the all-time greatest seasons by an Englishman abroad. Scoring against Arsenal once again. How many goals does Harry Kane have against Arsenal? As many as you could think, eh? As many as you could think. But, as for Bayern Munich, it was a very, what can I say, man? Bayern Munich would actually have to produce 2 top displays to actually advance to the Champions League, semi-finals for the first time in 4 seasons, right? And after, a turbulent, first 15 minutes in London, Bayern Munich got the first of those as, let's just say, the Germans really showed character in coming from behind to actually secure a positive outcome. And, it means that there's all to play for them next week, at the Allianz Arena. And look, on the other hand, we can just say, Arsenal, it's a fair result for Arsenal, right? But as for Bayern Munich, it's also a fair result for them, but advantage them because they know at home they're not going to slip up. We all know that they won't slip up, right, at home when they play at the Allianz Arena. Only if Arsenal can produce something special, something worth a miracle. And look, again, when I look at Thomas Tuchel, he delivered a great, tactical masterclass. Bayern Munich showed some great organization on the pitch. They were very compact, very aggressive, and very disciplined. And it was amongst their best matches of the season. And, what I can just say is that Bayern Munich, if they maintain this kind of performance, they maintain this kind of discipline, maybe perhaps they can go all the way to the final. But look, if they win, whoever wins here will have to face Man City or Real Madrid in the semi-finals. So, hey, there's still a lot to play for. So, yeah, man, keep your eyes on the ball, man. Don't lose focus. And again, you have to look at what's actually key about this fixture is the fact that Arsenal have never lost the first leg in a Champions League quarterfinals tie, right? They've won twice and they've actually drawn 5 times, right? And then Trossard's equalizer was Arsenal's 300, Champions League goal, group stage to the final. So Arsenal have now scored 300 Champions League goals. And there was Trossard who actually got the 300th Champions League goal for the Gunners. And Trossard, again, he has actually scored in all 4 home appearances for Arsenal in this season's Champions League. And Arsenal had won all 4 Champions League home games this season prior to Bayern Munich's first leg, scoring 13 goals and only conceding 0. Arsenal are yet to concede a goal. This was the first time they've conceded at home in the Champions League, against Bayern Munich. So, wow, what an incredible turnaround from the Londoners. I mean, hey, it's incredible to say the least. And you look at also Harry Kane. Harry Kane has now scored like in each of his last 10 seasons against Arsenal, racking up a total of 15 goals in 20 matches against them. Whereas Bayern Munich had lost the first leg in each of their last three, Champions League quarterfinal ties, including last season when they lost, by 3-0 against Manchester City at the Etihad. And then you also look at the fact that, look, I mean, for me, the players that really perform so well on the pitch is Leroy Sané, SERGE GNABRY, Bukayo Saka, Leon Goretzka, as well as Leandro Trossard. They really did perform very well. Although my man of the match is Martin Odegaard. So, yeah, man, I mean, he has been scintillating. He was amazing, to say the least. And look, let's just say this again. The second leg will take place in Munich on Wednesday, the 17th of April. So whoever comes through in this tie will either face, like I said earlier on, will either face Real Madrid or Manchester City in the semifinals. The last 4 matches will actually take place when? They will actually take place, the last 4 matches will actually take place once again, on the, on the 30th of April to the 1st of May, as well as on the 7th of May and the 8th of May, respectively, which is basically the second leg, right? So I guess, man, there's still more to play for. There's still more to actually look forward to in this Champions League quarterfinal ties. Wow, incredible, isn't it? It's incredible. Look, again, let's go to the Bernabeu. Let's go to... Yo! Yeah, man, what a game that was, man. What a game that was. Let's go straight to the Bernabeu. Real Madrid 3, Manchester City 3. It's all square, in the epic first leg. So like on Tuesday night, right, it was like 10 goals that were scored across 2 matches. 4 were scored in the game between Arsenal and Bayern Munich, and then 6 were scored in the game between Real Madrid as well as, the defending champions Manchester City. So look, the Champions League quarterfinal first leg between Real Madrid as well as Manchester City ended all square, and after an epic encounter at the Santiago Bernabeu, And let me just say, Real Madrid and Manchester City drew an extraordinary first leg at the Santiago Bernabeu, and it was a game that was full of drama, full of quality, full of goals, you name it. You understand? But look, Real Madrid, Carlo Ancelotti, again, another milestone for him. 200 Champions League match is not one the Italian will ever forget in a hurry. As it was so pulsating, scintillating encounter, which really lived up, to its lofty pre-match billing. The game got off to a remarkable start. Manchester, as like Bernardo Silva, he scored against Real Madrid for a 3rd successive season. He caught out the goalkeeper Andre Lunin with a clever free kick after just like 2 minutes to stun the Bernabeu in silence. Yeah, I mean, that was an incredible goal. And remember, Bernardo Silva, there is speculation that he will be making his way to Spain, right, to Barcelona, with, his Portuguese compatriot, João Felix, actually, telling some journalists that, he wants to convince his Portuguese countrymen to actually join, him at Blaugrana. But we know there's still speculation with regards to that. There's no, sort of like interaction between Bernardo Silva as well as Barcelona, but we will see in the upcoming months, come end of the season. And let's just say, even like 10 minutes later, Madrid will even level. It was actually through Eduardo Camavinga's effort, from outside the box, which took a wicked deflection of the Manchester City Ruben Dias, to actually wrong foot Stefan Ortega. And from that particular moment in time, the hosts then gained momentums. And that's what the kings of the Champions League do. They gain so much momentum, and 2 minutes after equalizing, they took the lead. It was Rodrigo, the combination of the two Brazilians. It was Rodrigo who ran on to Vinicius Jr.'s delightful pass, and then he poked the shot through, Ortega's legs with the help of a touch of Manuel Akanji. But, from that particular moment in time, Real Madrid, you thought, they would actually hold on or actually add on to their lead. But you're playing against Manchester City, the defending champions. Confidence is on a high for them. Confidence is on a high for Manchester City. Because as for the citizens, what you could actually say is the fact that, there was no let up in the action in the second half. Both teams missed chances before Manchester City's prodigious, midfielder, Phil Foden collected a John Stones pass, and he unleashed a delightful curling shot into the top corner for his 5th goal in his last Champions League appearances. Basically, he's got 5 goals in his last 6 Champions League appearances. he made it level at 2-2. 5 minutes later, Josko Guardiola chose the perfect time to score his first goal for Manchester City, crashing an unstoppable long-range strike after inside Lunen's left-hand upright, stunning the Bernabeu once again. But just when it looked like City, would be taking an advantage home, to Manchester, Federico Valverde met Vinicius Jr.'s cross with a stunning low volley to take the roof off the Bernabeu. It's crazy. Real Madrid, they had to even ask permission from Manchester City to actually close the roof of the Santiago Bernabeu. But I was like, why do you have to ask for permission? Just close it, man. But what a game of football that was. I mean, that was crazy. In the end, to say the least, there was actually nothing to choose between the sides. With football, the real winner and the most entertaining of matches, the fans will actually be counting down till the return in Manchester, on the 17th of April. And, what a crazy game of football that was. And in my opinion, my man of the match is actually Phil Foden, to be real. Because, Phil Foden, he established a great partnership with Bernardo Silva, displaying faultless technical ability and hard work. He came up with a key moment, when he found the top corner of Madrid's goal. And actually, he's such an influential, hardworking, and stylish, performer. I mean, that's exactly what he displayed, on the pitch at the Santiago Bernabeu. But, this is Madrid. This club has won the Champions League, 14 times because, this stadium has been the host to marvels and magic. The general sentiment is the fact that I would say, I guess we've seen it all, man. We've seen it all. Yet again, the Bernabeu hasn't marveled, at too many nights like this. This was just magical, irrespective of whether you were a Madrid fan or a City fan, and, a hymn of worship to European football. I would say it was daring. It was so daring. It was crazy. It was frantic, clever, and without any quarter, final that we could have been asked for. This was just crazy. That's why indeed, football is a religion. Football is a religion, and that's why UEFA Champions League was invented specifically, because it's just magic. It's magic, right? And I would say this will go down as a UEFA Champions League classic. It had everything. A fast and furious start, stunning goals by both teams to actually take the breath away. And currently now, I would say that the advantage rests with Manchester City heading back to the Manchester. But, having been ahead twice, they might be annoyed at surrendering the lead, and ask themselves, how on earth, did these two sides, top this at City or of Manchester next week, And I guess it's anyone's guess, So, and Manchester City haven't lost, a home game in the Champions League in many years. So the last time they lost was against Lyon, it was actually a group stage match, which is about now I think it was more or less, I think it was 6 years ago. It was basically 6 years ago when that last happened. So, yeah, man. Look, both teams really, it was a well-balanced game, to actually say the least. And both teams really competed to the limit. It was a hard-fought draw for both sides. But as long as, the game at the Etihad, there's all to play for at the Etihad. And I think it's really an entertaining game, and with a dignified competition such as this one. I can go on and on about this match. It was an outstanding game of football from two quality sides. It's a pity that one of them will have to go out next week. And what's actually key to notice is the fact that Real Madrid featured in their 39th, Champions League quarterfinal tie. And that's a competition record. And this draw ended City's 10-match winning run, in the Champions League. A sequence that started, with the 4-0 defeat of Real Madrid in last season's semi-final second leg. And the defeat in Manchester is Madrid's only loss in their last 15 Champions League matches. They've won 12 matches and they've actually drawn twice. Madrid have scored in every Champions League knockout game since that 2-0 loss against Barcelona in the semi-final first leg in April 2011. And again, City are unbeaten in 22 home European matches, winning 16 of those, drawing 6, since a 3-1 defeat at Madrid in the semi-final, second leg in May 2022. And Guardiola's City have now scored 3 goals in each of their 9 Champions League matches this season. The first team to actually hit 3 more in 9 successive games in the competition. And City have lost only one of their last 13 games against Spanish teams, which means that they've actually won 8 and they've actually drawn 4. And this was only the second knockout match in the Champions League to feature, the 3 goals in the opening 14 minutes after Manchester City versus Tottenham, in April 2019, which was like 2-2 after like 11 minutes. So, yeah, man, I mean, what a game that was. What an incredible game of football that was. Viva de la Española! Viva Española! Viva de la Española! So yeah, Wednesday, the Spanish teams, they seem to be emerging victorious. Atletico Madrid defeating Borussia Dortmund by 2-1, So yeah, the hosts were able to earn a narrow first leg lead at the Wanda Metropolitano in Madrid, Spain. So there's actually goals from Rodrigo de Paul as well as Samuel Lino that put Atletico Madrid in control before Sebastian Aller's crucial intervention for Borussia Dortmund. yeah. So what an incredible game that was. Including the game between PSG and Barcelona at the Parc des Princes, in the capital of, France, Paris, right? So in this particular encounter now, Atletico Madrid, really, they just have a slim advantage, going, after clinching a 2-1, first leg. It was just a narrow victory for them, but it's an important victory for them at the Estadio Metropolitano. And, when you look at this particular encounter, for those who actually tuned in, Atletico Madrid, they pegged back late on. And listen, Atletico Madrid's formidable European, home form, it continued. However, this tie is still very much in anyone's game, following Dortmund's late, rally. And there was actually a wonderful atmosphere inside the Metropolitano before kickoff. And the volume rose, another few notches, when the host took the lead just inside a space of 5 minutes. It was... You just had to give credit to Atletico Madrid's high press. It worked to, perfection, as the Dortmund defender, Ian Madsen, was actually dispossessed on the edge of his own box, with the Atletico Madrid midfielder Rodrigo de Paul taking full advantage to actually fire calmly, past, Gregor Kobel. And Diego Simeone's side, from that particular moment in time, they continued to actually control proceedings, going close to actually doubling their advantage almost immediately as Kobel scrambled to actually tip away former Dortmund midfielder Axel Witsel's acrobatic effort from the corner. And it just showed you that momentum was with the Madrid side. Momentum was with Atletico Madrid. And just past the half-hour mark, Atletico Madrid did punish Dortmund once more. It was actually Antoine Griezmann providing a lovely scoop pass, to the wing-back Samuel Lino, who coolly slotted the ball in. And, you could say that it was match said and done. But look, Atletico are that type of a team that is very complacent at times. They just don't want to add on to their advantage. They choose just to sit back and actually hold on to what they have, but which is actually not advisable in Champions League football, especially in Champions League knockout football, because Dortmund, the Germans, they established more of a foothold in the second half. And despite being frustrated by, some strong home defending, they got a crucial goal, with 9 minutes left when the substitute, the AFCON winner, Sebastian Aller, swiveled in the box and finished well past Jan Oblak. And suddenly, there was like some huge sense of belief, on the side of Borussia Dortmund, which seemed to be the cause through the visitors, who twice threatened for an equalizer. First, it was through Jamie, Benu Kittens, whose curling effort rattled the bar, and then Julian Brandt's headed onto the hoodwork with the last action of the match. So basically, Atletico Madrid, they just clung on to that, slender victory, which basically does set up things nicely for the second leg, in Germany on the 16th of April. And again, Atletico Madrid better not be complacent. They better really watch out. And that's another thing, Borussia Dortmund, they are a team that has shown in many years that they can compete at the highest level. Yes, they have come short in previous times, but look, they are a formidable side. They are a formidable opponent that are not to be taken lightly. Antoine Griezmann, man of the match, again, he did everything correctly. He did everything so well. He dictated the tempo with the ball. He even provided the assist to Lino. And, he did really well, when he was on duty to actually defend, to say the least. And look, despite the fact that Atletico Madrid only had around 36%, of the ball, for the majority of the game, it did not feel like Atletico Madrid were both in control and dominating for most of it. There was like a promise of a comfortable victory for Simeone's side at the break, but that's not often the way at the Metropolitano, and so it proved again. The hosts, they held out for the victory. The late goal that they conceded could prove costly once again, and we know how, in Champions League football, especially knockout football, you can never write anyone off. Atletico, as we know, they are the strongest at home, and there's still everything to play for. So like on the side of Dortmund, it was a frustrating start for them in the first half. But, they fought their way back in the contest, driven by some clever substitutions, by their coach, right? Although the visitors, could have well conceded more goals, but the 2-1 loss, means that they have something to actually build on to the second leg in front of 80,000 spectators. So they don't actually require a football miracle to actually advance. But yeah, man, I guess, the game is still very much in the balance, and anything can happen for Borussia Dortmund at the Signal Iduna Park. Whereas, like, you look at Atletico Madrid, they remain unbeaten in 17 Champions League knockout matches in their own stadium under Simeone, winning 11, drawing 6, and they've only conceded 5 goals. This was Atletico Madrid's first win in 7 matches against German opposition. Remember, they've drawn twice and they've lost 4 times since a 1-0 home victory against Leverkusen in the 2019-2020 group stages. And then Los Rojiblancos' run of 6 successive clean sheets in the home Champions League quarterfinal matches was actually, abrupted by that Ale goal. Rodrigo de Paul's opener after 3 minutes, 58 seconds was Atletico Madrid's earliest Champions League goal since Saúl Ñíguez struck against Liverpool in 2020, which was just like 3 minutes, like 46 seconds. Dortmund now have lost, their last 5 Champions League quarterfinal matches. The Black and Yellows have not won away in 8 European quarterfinal ties. Since a 1-0 victory at Auxerre, in the 1996-1997 UEFA Champions League. So they've actually drawn 3 and they've lost 5. This result actually ended Borussia Dortmund's 7-match unbeaten run, in the Champions League, winning by 4 and drawing 3. And then Sebastian Haller, has now scored 12 goals in his 13 UEFA Champions League outings. Yes. So the second leg will take place in Dortmund on Tuesday, the 16th of April. And whoever comes through in this tie will face the winners of Barcelona and Paris Saint-Germain in the semi-finals. Yeah. Yes. Sondong kakaka. To li fe forza, so fa forza fa, forza, blaugrana re, o trirare, a se tom, passa. Yeah, Blaugrana. They've done it again, guys. Blaugrana has really done it again. Look, it hasn't been the best of seasons for Barcelona this season, right? But you know what? Ever since Xavi announced that he's actually leaving the club at the end of the season, we've actually seen huge strides in terms of their performance this season, right? Following that decision. And yes, they won by 3 goals to 2 away at, the Parc des Princes against Paris Saint-Germain. And, most people thought that PSG were going to destroy Barcelona. But it wasn't the case. Yes, the second leg still has to come. But look, with all, may God please forbid, there's no way Barcelona are going to lose at home. And God forbid, please, because they put on such a great shift away from home. And for them just to mess it up at their home ground, it wouldn't even make sense to me. But guess what? The Christensen header was the one that settled the thriller. Rafinha scored twice, but it was actually ANDREAS Christensen, the birthday boy, turning 28, who actually headed the decisive goal for Xavi Hernandez's men in La Paris, the capital of France. So Barcelona will actually take that 3-2 lead, back to Spain for the second leg of their UEFA Champions League quarterfinal tie with Paris Saint-Germain after a roller coaster meeting in the French capital. So look, let's just be real. I mean, PSG were the ones that actually started on the front foot. They started the game so well. They dominated in the opening 20 to 25 minutes. But it was a matter of the fact that, yes, PSG had more of the possession, but Barcelona had more of the better chances. That was the only difference, right? So it was obviously inevitable whereby Blaugrana were going to score, right? So it was Kang In Lee and Marco Asensio. They were also included in the Paris Saint-Germain starting 11, and both quickly made their presence felt, with strikes that Marc-Andre ter Stegen had to repel. Barcelona gradually grew into the contest, and actually had two chances midway through the first half. Nuno Mendes, clearing off the line from a Robert Lewandowski before Gianluigi Donnarumma sprawled low to his left to actually keep out Rafinha's wrecking drive. And the goalkeeper, could not deny the Brazilian forward in the 37th minute though. Rafinha whipping his finish in the far corner after Donnarumma had palmed away Lamine Yamal's teasing low cross. And give credit to Kubarsi for finding Lewandowski, and give credit to Lewandowski for actually making that run. Wow, that was a well-worked goal. Well-worked goal, man. It was a combination of the front three between Lewandowski, Yamal, as well as Rafinha. What a game that was, man. Wow. Kubarsi at 17 years old. Keeping Mbappe at bay the whole entire game. Reducing Mbappe to not even having a single shot at goal. Not even a single shot on target. Yeah. At 17 years old. Making history, the boy. Becoming the youngest defender to actually start a Champions League quarterfinal game. But look, from that particular moment in time, let's just say like PSG, the home side, they actually struggled to actually keep their heads above the water, for the rest of the half. But again, it was a matter of the fact that Barcelona could have actually taken some of the chances that they created. They created so many, there were so many openings that Barcelona had, and they didn't capitalize on them. Those half chances that they had, they could have capitalized and actually sealed the game in the first 45 minutes of the first leg tie. But look, the interval did work wonders for Luis Enrique's men, as they were ahead within 6 minutes of the restart. Ousmane Dembele's thumping effort from Ronald Araujo's half clearance threw them level against his former club. The fact that he even had the audacity to celebrate says a lot. The fact that this man had the audacity to celebrate says a lot. He had some audacity. We must give him the Luis Figo treatment when he returns. We will treat him like Luis Figo. But anyway, Fabian Ruiz also, his incisive pass was neatly dispatched across ter Stegen by actually marauding Vitinha to actually double the league for the Parisians, at the Stade, the Princess. But it was actually that type of a situation where obviously, it was a great game of football. Yes, PSG were already ahead and they started dominating the ball. So it was a matter that now, Barcelona had to make changes. They had to bring in some sauce, add in some sauce and add in some spice, to their play. And that's exactly what they did. Xavi had to bring on Pedri as well as João Felix to actually change the game. And look, and that's exactly what we saw. He also brought on Ferran Torres, and that's exactly what we saw. We did see a change in the game because it was actually now Barcelona's turn to actually try and actually clear their heads, and they managed to do so in the 62nd minute of the game when Rafinha grabbed his second. It was basically a poised volley after a perfectly timed run, to actually latch on to the substitute Pedri's lofted pass. Guess what? Pedri just came on. That was his first touch of the game. First touch, 60 seconds later, just after coming on with the first touch, creating a wonderful assist. And look, the Catalan club were far from finished. Dembele also hit the post, and, within 2 minutes, Paris Saint-Germain were behind. Christensen, on his 28th birthday, headed in Ilkay Gundogan's corner moments after coming off the bench to actually leave Luis Enrique's side, with an uphill task next week. And guess what? The player of the match is Rafinha. Rafinha, he's my man of the match. He was very dangerous, with his movement, his speed. He knew exactly when to be available to actually receive or exploit the space behind the Paris Saint-Germain defense, scoring 2 goals. And with the second one especially, it was so technically outstanding, right? And on the side of PSG, Luis Enrique, he must be navigating a whirlwind of emotions. Pride at Paris, early's second half comeback, regret at letting their lead slip, I meant to say. And it's those fine margins that will dictate, the grandest of contexts. I meant to say contests, yes, at the Maxim rings, true, right? But, hope is not lost. When Paris Saint-Germain, up the intensity, few teams can actually cope, but they will be looking to actually elongate those periods of dominance into a sustained control in their return. So on to Barcelona, a city in which this club has a storied past. So yeah, it's an old Hollywood tune, from Western musical Annie Get Your Gun, but these players, may still know the song Anything You Can Do, I Can Do Better. Tuesday night at the Santiago Bernabeu was, by any standards, an all-time classic and a standout sequel. With a goal following a goal, looked like Barcelona's response to Real Madrid's spectacle with Man City. Xavi called it let's just say he called it right, with his substitutions. 2 immediate strikes, coming courtesy of Pedri's assist and Christensen's header. Is it enough? We'll find out next week. But look, I promise you, man, God forbid, Barcelona, please don't mess this up, man. I beg you guys, please don't mess it up. God forbid, please don't mess it up. But it was wonderful football, wonderful moments as always, goals galore. This competition never ceases to amaze me. Every single season. These young kids from Barcelona, were incredible against PSG. I'm talking about Lamine Yamal, Pau Cubarsí, Pau Cubarsí, And you often tend to think that experience gets you through, but sometimes you need that fearlessness, from these youngsters. Yeah, and they're so fearless. Look at Lamine Yamal, 16 years old, 272 days, became the youngest ever player to start a Champions League quarterfinal match. Pau Cubarsí, 17 years old, 79 days, the second youngest. They both surpassed, the previous landmark set by, BAYERN, who also played for Barcelona, age 17. Also, he was like 217 days as well against Schalke in April 2008. Marquinhos, became Paris Saint-Germain's all-time highest appearance holder with 436 games for the club. Dembele's goal was his second in the quarterfinals following his strike for Dortmund against Monaco in April 2017. So this is the 5th successive season in which a Brazilian has scored 2 goals in a Champions League quarterfinal game. After Philippe Coutinho did so with Bayern Munich in the 2019-2020 season, Vinicius Jr. did so for Real Madrid in the 2020-2021 season, Roberto Firmino did the same thing for Liverpool in the 2021-2022 season, Rodrigo did the same for Real Madrid last season. So Rafinha basically is now the first player to score, his first Champions League goal for Barcelona in a quarterfinal since Yaya Toure against Schalke in 2008. Christensen is the first Barcelona player to score in a Champions League on his birthday. On his birthday. Barcelona have only failed to score in 2 of their last 28 UEFA Champions League competition matches against French teams. Barcelona have lost the first leg in only 1 of their last 16 two-legged UEFA competition quarterfinal ties. They've won 8 and they've actually drawn 7. Yeah, Rafinha, ref. So the second leg will take place in Barcelona on, Tuesday, the 16th of April. And whoever emerges victorious from that particular tie will take on Atletico Madrid or Borussia Dortmund in the semifinals. Yeah. I hope you enjoyed this video, man. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And we'll be in touch with you pretty soon, man. Football is a religion. Cheers, man. Cheers.